Slight umbrage at Sam Lottering. I mean, I didn't ride the minister at all. I called him smart, intelligent and cunning. And to most people, they are actually terms of, not endearment, but they're certainly not disparaging. Mr. Chair, I would like to talk specifically about Section 23C. And I just have a number of questions. I don't think they're contentious at all, Mr. Chair. But what I would like to do is just ask a number of questions that I'm hoping the Minister will take a quick call on and just clarify them. Because if I have questions about this, no doubt there are people out there who are a lot more intelligent than I am who are also asking the same thing if they had the bill in front of them. And the first thing is, for example, is 23C, that's been mentioned. It's the decision of the Minister concerning approval of asset allocation plans. It's 23C on page 50. And the Minister must, as soon as practical, after receiving the allocation plan, make a decision. And I'm just wondering what the process will be with regard to that. Does the Minister envisage that he will take this to Cabinet, perhaps, or is he just going to make the decision himself? Because it does say here in Part 2 that before making a decision, the Minister may consult the Commission. He doesn't have to, but he may consult the Commission. So I'm wondering, A, if the Minister is going to take this to Cabinet, and B, if it's the Minister's intention to actually consult the Commission, because he doesn't have to under the Act, but it says he may consult the Commission, which is, I'm just going to jump around a little bit, but I'm going to come back, 23GB with regard to the approval of chorus undertakings. It says that the Minister must consult the Commission. So obviously there's a legal obligation there, but there's not a legal obligation for him to consult the Commission with regard to the Telecoms asset allocation plan. So I'm just wondering if he's thinking of doing that. If I go down to 23F, Mr. Chair, this is about Telecom must make overview of asset allocation plan publicly available. We've got some words there which I think the Minister will have a view in his mind what it means, but just for a clarification, it says Telecom must, as soon as practical, after the approval of the asset allocation plan under 23E, but no later than separation day, make an overview of the plan publicly available. And again, I mean, I don't know if it's got a legal definition because I'm not a lawyer, but as soon as practical, does the Minister envisage that perhaps that's 2 weeks or a month or a couple of days? But what it does say here, but no later than separation day. So I'd be slightly concerned if the asset allocation plan had been approved by the Minister, there was a separation day, which we can talk about later on, is announced, and then 1 day before the separation day, Telecom makes this publicly available. It just doesn't seem to be that equitable. It would be good if this was publicly available, so again, the industry and the people of New Zealand just had an idea of what that allocation plan was. And I'm wondering, again, if the Minister has an idea between how long the time will be between his approval of that asset allocation plan and separation day. If he's because obviously there's a lot of work got to go into the asset allocation plan, but if he's envisaging, this will be a month, or this will be 6 months, or this will be 2 years, I assume it'll be at the low end, but I wouldn't mind just knowing if the Minister has an idea. And again, we come down to they must make an overview of the plan publicly available. Are we talking about a website here, or are they going to publish the details, a full page in the Dominion? Because publicly available to myself or to Claire means something different than publicly available to my grandmother, for example. So just a little bit of clarification. But what it does say when we're talking about publicly available, it says sufficient information to enable the reasonable person to understand the material aspects of the asset allocation plan. And when we're talking about the reasonable person and sufficient information with regard to telecom separation, it's slightly different than the gameplay of the All Blacks, for example. So again, I wouldn't mind just having a little bit of idea what the Minister believes is sufficient information. And by that I mean, will someone be able to read this and get an understanding, okay, so this is going to go here, this is going to go here. It won't be pages and pages of little wee words, just to clarify that. And again, I know the reasonable person test is a legal test, but it'll be interesting to know how the reasonable person test comes into play when you're talking about the separation of telecom assets. Again, the Minister may have an answer to that. And so if I could go on to the Minister, to 23FA. Now, It's not FA, Mr. Speaker, at all. It's very important because, Mr. Chair, when we're talking about this is about, and this is, I'm not quite sure what this is to do with. It says Telecom must update the Minister and overview on day before separation. Now, must update the Minister and overview on day of separation. Doesn't quite make sense, but anyway. But what this says, Telecom must, on the day before separation, so this is 24 hours, I assume, before D-Day in essence with regard to this, must on the day before make changes to the asset allocation in order to take account of it. Trivial differences between the plan as approved and the demerger arrangement and notify the Minister. So, again, what's trivial? Is the Minister sort of expecting that what will happen is the asset allocation plan will be out there? As it says in the bill, the Minister actually, before D-Day or S-Day, has to be notified of any major plans. But what is trivial? Because we're talking about a huge organisation here, one of the largest, in fact, it's probably the largest corporate in this country. And so trivial to that means something different than trivial to, the corner dairy, for example. Yeah, well, and we'll get larger, but I'm just curious to note the difference in trivial. And the reason I say that, Mr. Chair, because we come down to 23G, and what that's about is the demerger must be in accordance with the asset allocation plan, which makes perfect sense. But what it says here in Part 2, the High Court may order Telecom to pay to the Crown a pecuniary penalty not exceeding $10 million if the court is satisfied on application of the Chief Executive of the Ministry that Telecom has failed without reasonable excuse to comply. Now, I want to go up again. The Telecom must notify the Minister in writing. Now, does that mean that they have to have posted that letter within 24 hours or the Minister must have received it within 24 hours? But again, it comes without reasonable excuse. And so my question here, and I know this can be decided by the court because it says here it's up to the district court the High Court to determine. But does this mean that if Telecom has put in writing to the Minister the changes that it wants to make, then it is indemnified from prosecution and a major fine? Because this, they may put something in there which is deemed trivial from their perspective, or they may use this actually as an out. They may use this as an out. The Chief Executive of the Ministry may take this to court and Telecom will say, well, no, we're not liable for this $10 million fine because we notified the Minister. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there, which I'm hoping the Minister will address. Not difficult questions, I don't think, Mr. Chair, but fair enough to be asked. Now, I'd like to talk about the approval of chorus undertakings. When we talk about chorus, what happens here is chorus must submit draft undertakings within 20 working days, so it's very specific, but then it says, or any later date before separation that the Minister may allow. And I'm just wondering, does he have an expectation that perhaps 20 days is too short? Does the Minister expect that perhaps in here we should have made it 40 days or 60 days? And is he expecting a bit of a delay? Because there is a little bit of a wiggle room here, because the only thing is they have to submit it before separation day, which mightn't be 20 days, that may be 60 days. So just a little bit of a clarification around this. And I'll come back to the point I made earlier, where in this it says the Minister must consult the Commission, but then it says, and may consult any other person that the Minister considers has a material interest before deciding whether to approve or decline. Now I'm wondering, is the Minister intending to consult? Because he doesn't have a legal obligation to. He has a legal obligation to consult with the Commission, but he doesn't have a legal obligation to consult with anyone else in the industry. But it is in here that he actually may consult with others in the industry. And I'm just wondering if the Minister does have an expectation that he will allow maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to go out to the industry and consult with them to make sure that everything is kosher, okay. And not a difficult question, I wouldn't have thought, Mr. Chair, but one that I wouldn't mind getting the answer to, because consultation is most important, I would have thought. We talk about separation day, and I'm just wondering, what has to happen with separation day is Telecom must make certain information publicly available, as per, we're looking at 23GDA Part 1, and I'm just wondering, does the Minister expect that the time that Telecom will make separation day, that information available at the same time it makes its asset allocation plan available? It says here that it may do that, but it mightn't. But I'm wondering, is there an expectation? Because I would have thought that if Telecom has gone into great detail on an asset allocation plan that the Minister or the Cabinet, whoever may approve, then in fact separation day would be quite a big part of that, because I've no doubt there'll be a major timeline outlining what will happen. So I'm just wondering if the Minister could comment on that. Thank you very much.
David Bennett.